Hey everyone, in this episode, we're going to talk about Love, Simon. We're going to see if it was an accurate depiction or a fairy tale of a coming out story. All that and more in episode 23 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hey Team Reel-ists, this is Oscar.
This is Donnie.
And we have our producer Ruben as always.
Hello.
But today's episode is going to be a fun one. We have a special guest. We have Scott here, our friend Scott.
Hi.
Scott.
All right. So, Scott, you saw Love, Simon just as we did. So we're going to talk about all that here.
Awesome.
We do want to mention everyone. We're on Thursdays in case. We just want to make sure we shout this out. Tune in on Thursdays.
Right?
Are you saying it in Spanish?
Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Jueves.
Just do it. All right, sure.
For all our Spanish listeners out there.
That's different. Yes, definitely catch us every episode on Thursdays. We do 2 Thursdays. Let us know if you guys want them on a different day. We're willing to be flexible. This is going to be a spoiler discussion of Love, Simon. So if you haven't seen it, pause. Keep it paused. Watch it and then come back and press play. All right. Anything else? Any other housekeeping?
I don't think so.
You can always follow us on social media, like always. Thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate all the support, as always.
But keep spreading the word. Keep spreading. Scott. I said squat.
Squat. Spread the word and squat.
All right. You know what? That being said, we're just going to go into this Love, Simon, just to talk about it in the sense of introducing it. So Love, Simon is about a story of Simon Spear. He has a little more complicated story, he says. He hasn't told his family or friends that he's gay, and he doesn't know the identity of the anonymous classmate that he's fallen for online. All right. So, as our guest, Scott, quick thoughts about this movie. What is the first thing that jumps to mind?
Me being kind of in the same scenario when I was that age. Well, granted, I went to high school in the 1800s. I had a lot that I could recognize and that I actually could really connect with because I was in that same boat when I was his age.
Okay.
Obviously very different time from when I was in high school. I don't think it would have gone as smoothly back in the 1800s. But yeah, it definitely
wasn't it paper and pen?
No, it was actually an inkwell. You had to find the closest chicken or rock that you could actually write with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Donnie, any initial thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was a good film. It was like, like an adorable kind of...
John Hughes type.
Yeah, I did like it. I liked that everyone in the film was pretty likable. Obviously, except for the guy who was blackmailing Simon. I obviously didn't like him, but like the family, he had a good family. He had really cool friends, which is, I think it just ties back into why his character, like Simon, was struggling so much because he even said it in the film, like, I have such a loving family. I have awesome friends. Like, he had this great life. So I can totally see why it was so hard for, like why he was struggling so much, because everyone in his life was like so like good people, and he didn't want to like, I guess, mess that up. But I did like the film. It was great.
Okay. My initial thoughts about it is I think Simon is an awesome character, very relatable in so many different ways. It just was one of the things that I wanted to know more about him, kind of in that sense of like I would see another movie, like a sequel. It doesn't have to be necessarily like with the story of, coming out anymore. It can just be whatever, him going to college, whatever. Very just fascinating character. I felt like I had some similarities, good nature, all that fun, humble kind of things. So that was a highlight for me, was just that he was an awesome character. And, I rooted for him throughout the entire movie. So that was just my biggest thing coming out of it, is I really enjoyed his character and his friends and his family. Kind of jealous, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, so those were my initial thoughts. I did want to talk to you guys about if it was a realistic portrayal. Did you guys think that, was it too on like, okay, this is just a movie? At any point did you guys be like, okay, that probably wouldn't happen? Any of those kinds of things come up when you guys were watching it?
For me, I would say yes and no. Some of it I could kind of, like I said, I could relate to some of it with like how he had that moment with his mom, towards the end of the movie, and he just walks into the kitchen and they're both just kind of sitting there staring at each other, not really saying much. that was me. You know, I went into my parents' house, and this is after, of course, I came out to my family, and my mom and I are just basically sitting there, and it was almost the identical conversation. And, you know, to your point, that he didn't want anything to change necessarily in his family, I think nothing would have changed even if he had come out sooner. You know, I think he just came from a great base. And I think that's the biggest benefit of it now. From when I came out, big difference. Like, that was just not a thing. But I think with how society has grown over the years, I think it was a toss-up for me. It came across that, yeah, this could happen, but is it a little more sugary sweet just because it's a film? So I think it's a good little mix of both.
Okay.
That's how I looked at it.
I mean, I definitely see it where it has that note of it wants to make you feel comfortable in sense of if you have something where you feel like you need to express as well. So I definitely feel like it did its job in making you comfortable. I know it paints that picture where it's like everything will be fine, and we don't know that that's for every person's case. So I could definitely understand where maybe on that side it was a little too movie fantasy where, you know, everything, you know, he had his fallout with his friends for a little bit, but it all got back together. He ended up getting the guy in the end, which is great when you watch a movie because that is what makes you want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
If it had that twist where it's like, yeah, he didn't get blue and his friends never, you know, came back to him, then it'd be like, so do we not say, you know, what we want to say in life? Do we keep things, you know, hidden? So yeah, I definitely understand why it went to fantasy, but at the same time, I would have liked it if there was another character that maybe wasn't having it as the same, just like a different perspective. Not necessarily that had to be about two characters, but, you know, like his classmate. I forgot his name, the classmate's name. But he had already came out prior to the movie.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't really explore his character. They briefly touched it, how his grandparents, you know, they don't know because it's easier for them as that character stated. So that would have been fascinating to show those different things that can happen, but ultimately you want to make the choice you're comfortable with. So I do like that it did ended up saying everything will be okay because I think ultimately that's how it can be.
Yeah.
I felt like obviously they were trying to like appear to a broad audience. So I feel like with kind of the whole, if we're talking about like how realistic it was, I mean, I feel like maybe that for sure when some people come out, it's like they have a great experience and it's like everyone's super supportive and understanding and like all those things. But then for like a lot of people, it's not that case. So like you were saying, it would have been interesting to, I guess, touch on that a little more. I just feel like, I mean, we're dealing with kind of like kind of a heavy subject matter, I want to say, or like a hot button issue for a lot of people. So it's like, I know they obviously want as many people as they can to see this film. So they don't want to deter people away from it. So they're not going to put like super, you know, derogatory words in it or super, you know, or something that's going to like deter people away from the film. And that's why it's, for at least for me, it kind of comes off as kind of like fantasy fairy tale-ish. But and not to say like that's wrong or that's bad. It's just I do wish they would have added a little more realism to it. I guess, you know, kind of the hardships that people have to go through when they're experiencing that, or, you know, or like Simon, like at school, he got teased a little bit by like those two guys in the lunchroom. But that was pretty much it. And it was pretty PG, you know, like it wasn't like, it's not like, you know,
the entire movie was PG.
I mean, yeah, the whole movie was PG. So it's like, you know, I was saying like either he went to like the most like, you know, supportive high school ever minus those two kids, or, you know, the movie is just not kind of depicting it how it really is for some people.
Yeah.
So that was my take on it.
Wait, I want to chime in. Sorry.
All right, we have some.
Ruben wants to chime in.
I agree for the most part with the realism of it all. Yeah, I agree with Donnie how you're saying it's kind of for like a more broad audience. So that's why I didn't feel like it didn't portray those like tough situations. I think just because they were trying to keep it light, possibly.
Right.
Yeah, and just keep it kind of No, I don't know. Maybe it's because these kind of coming of age movies are made more for, or usually it's like a straight situation and they don't deal with things like
Yeah,
this.
true.
So it's kind of like we're trying to make this normal and this is just like anybody else. So then if you kind of go too far with like the portrayal of struggles, it kind of like isolates the people that can't relate.
Yep.
That's what I feel like. As far as the story, I don't. It was realistic to me because a lot of it, like a lot of this movie, it was crazy to me because there was a lot of stuff that happened that I was like, oh my gosh, like the smallest stuff that like happened, I thought it was just like in my situation because it always feels like coming out stories are always so unique.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that happened to me because my family was in whatever. Whatever factors are in your family, that's why you experience that. And it happens, it feels like to everybody.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of themes and things that were said and experiences. I was like, wow, like this is not, it wasn't just me. And I felt like in that regard, the like coming out experience was realistic. The biggest part that got to me was the part with the mom as well. Because I didn't have that particular experience, but the stuff she said, my mom has said all the time. And that was so crazy to me. I was like, what the heck? Because I thought it was just me. Like the part where she said,
Your mom read the book the entire time. Your mom had read the book the entire time.
Right? She knew exactly what to say. No, like the part where the mom was like, when you were a kid, you were so carefree, and then like eventually you kind of closed up. My mom would tell me that she tells me that all the time. She's like, you were so happy as a little boy. And that was crazy because I thought it was just me because it's just me. But apparently that happens. And I was surprised. And even his exact coming out, like when he came out like at Christmas, like that was my coming out experience as well. It was very casual and very just kind of just said it. And then everybody went on their way to like deal with it on their own terms. So I felt like in that situation, I was like, okay, cool. It's not always a dramatic experience, which is sad. And I did keep that in mind that I was like, great, that was great for me, but I can definitely see how other people with harder experiences would not be able to relate to this because obviously
I feel like the small parts, that is true, and I feel like that part was very well done. I think the school part is the part that I'm having trouble accepting in that sense, where like everyone in the school was like looking at him. I'm like, I don't even think half the people would really know you in that sense, like, because there was no photo of like Simon when it was announced on the blog. It was just Simon Spiel is gay and he's been talking to this guy, but there was never like this is his photo. So people, I don't know, I didn't like that the school was all reacting to it, and then even when they were cheering him on for finding out whether Blue was going to arrive at the end. I don't know, like, I feel like the school aspect side of it was a problem I felt was not a good portrayal, but I felt like the friends and the family members and the intimate parts, those were good, were really good and well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the family parts, even like when the little sister first found out and she like went up to his room and was trying to talk to him, but he was so distraught because he had just been outed, but like the way his whole family reacted to him coming out was really like touching to watch. And like even the father scene when him and his father were talking and like his dad was kind of apologizing for saying these jokes that he'd made in the past and that kind of stuff, and it just was like, I don't know, it was really touching. It was really warming to see.
Yeah. Is there any character aside from Simon, I don't feel like he has to be excluded because he was primarily the character, that was a standout? Any particular character?
I have one.
Sorry. Ruben has one. Ruben raised his hand.
It's in his hand.
The teacher, the drama teacher, the musical teacher, she was hilarious, and she definitely kept like it kind of light and funny. She was a standout character to me through the whole movie because I felt like those kind of characters sometimes could kind of wear out their welcome. Like after a while, like I know what kind of jokes you're gonna tell, or it's gonna be like
the principal.
Yeah, like he kind of got old at the end, but
yeah, he was too
she
much.
was funny the whole way. Like I wanted to see more of her. Like I could see the whole movie based on her, but she was my favorite.
Okay, Scott.
I would say, like you just said, the vice principal, I wanted to push down the stairs. He was too much by the end of the movie. Within the first 10, 15 minutes of him making the corny dad jokes and whatever, okay, great, but it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Halfway through the movie, I'm like, okay, can he like quit maybe and go do another job.
I
just can't pull this off anymore.
At first I can understand someone at school kind of trying to reaching out to kids and talking about being relevant and all that stuff, but it was a distraction, I would say. Donnie, any standout character aside from Simon?
The mom, obviously, I think we all really, really liked her and felt that she was, just the Scott and Ruben already talked about it, but kind of the conversation they had at the end of the film, and how she was just like, what she said, like, you used to be so carefree and now you're, like, it feels like you've been holding your breath all this time. And, I don't know, it was beautifully depicted. And I feel like parents do pick up on those things, but like, I feel like she basically sensed something was going on with her son, but she wasn't gonna like back him into a corner and be like, tell me what's going on. She like let him do it on his own time, which I thought was really beautiful. But I thought the mom she was great. Jennifer Garner.
How do you go wrong? I mean, really? It's Jennifer Garner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come on. You can't, I want her to be my mom. The chemistry with Josh Duhamel and Jennifer Garner?
Oh, yeah. They were perfect together.
I at first, because I think I just seen him with Transformers, and I feel like I just associated with so many different roles that I didn't really believe him was portraying this dad. I just felt like he was just a stand-in for dad.
Because he still looks like he's 20.
Yeah, that's true. My character that I felt stood out was both of his female friends.
Yeah.
In different ways. One of them that I just remember the joke when we were watching it. It felt like it was still Hannah Baker from 13 Reasons that she was portraying, that Catherine was portraying. But Leah and what's the other one? What's the friend's name? Leah was one of them. Let me find that out. But I say their names, Leah and Abby. There you go. Both of those characters. For different reasons. I felt like I can relate to Abby and just wanting to have a positive spin in a new situation. That part is something that I feel like I can see a lot of people doing. Sometimes people don't do that enough, and they just want to dwell on the negative of like, I'm moving to some place. I don't want to meet new people. It looked like she did it well.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then for for Leah, for being able to control her emotions, finding out on this information, she wasn't upset with Simon, and she says it. It was just the fact of how he went around and trying to just be more selfish of protecting himself rather than thinking about everyone else. And ultimately, she still does love Simon. That part is not changing. It's just going to be in a different way of loving him.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is something that was nice to know, that a lot of times when you have a crush on someone and it falls through, you automatically kind of like reject them or push them aside. But that in this case, that did not happen, because she ultimately saw that this was a friend and I want to be friends with you moving on. So that was nice. I liked their friends. And even his male friend, which I can't remember his name.
Male friend.
Soccer friend, whatever. He was good. I don't feel like he got enough development.
It's Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was too attached with Abby that he didn't really connect to Simon. It was just more of like, he had a thing for Abby and he just happened to always talk to Simon, therefore he was in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could have written him out. You probably could have excluded him and it still would have been the same movie.
The one thing I liked about Leah's character was really towards the end when she's out walking the dog and, they start walking together. And the comment she kind of side-handedly makes is, no, I want to hear about who this guy is because the other version that's in my mind of you is dead. So now I need to basically recreate this other version of you. And I think a lot of times when gay people come out, the other people they're coming out to are forgotten about, because it's not just a transition for you as the person coming out to your family, because you've dealt with it. That's why you're coming out.
Right.
Now, the people you just came out to, now they have to deal with it. You had that process. So it was cool to see that she was willing to say, okay, this is what it is, so let's make it happen. It was cool.
Yeah, she totally was okay with it.
Yeah, I totally thought that she was gonna end up being blue for like.
So did I.
I was like,
totally thought that.
Watch this be like when he was emailing Blue, like while she was sleeping in his room.
Yeah.
I thought her phone was gonna go off, or like,
So did I.
and then I was like, oh my god, but it didn't happen.
Oh, so you didn't read the book? Just kidding.
No, we did not read this book.
Scott, did you read the book?
I did not.
Okay,
Obviously.
just making sure we cover that basis here. All right, so we can't talk about movie comparison.
It was great. The comparison is amazing.
I will say that I was really happy that who the guy ended up being Blue, who he initially thought it was, but then he saw him at that party with that girl, so he was like, "Oh no, it's not him." But then it ended up being him. I was happy about that.
Himself. Don't doubt yourself. That's the moral of the movie, guys. Don't doubt yourself.
Always trust your first instinct.
The one part I did realize is that my gaydar still works even on film, because even when I did see that, when he was in the room with the girl, I'm like, nope, it's still him.
Oh, really? Wow.
I was very proud of myself.
That was actually going to be my next thing. How was it when you guys were? How did you guys when you guys were watching it and you guys saw each different person that he thought it was? Did you guys think it was more of a movie that should have played with the mystery side of it, or do you guys think it should have been more of just him not focusing on who Blue is, or the movie not focusing on who Blue is, but rather how does he do this? How does he tell his parents, tell the world that, you know, he is gay? Did you guys feel like that was a good thing to have a little distraction of like, who is this Blue character? Ultimately?
I do. I think it made it a mystery for you too, because if it just kind of held it off, you know, you're really maybe only going to see the person's arms, or you kind of see a silhouette, you kind of lose interest of that finding out of who it is, that, you know, that fight to find it out. So to keep you guessing at the end, I think it makes it a little more exciting for the audience to say, oh, okay, well, nope, it's not that person for this reason, this reason, and this reason. But yeah, I think it sucks you into the storyline of it a little bit more, I think.
Right. Okay. I mean, because I know it was crucial. Obviously, Blue is what was inspiring him to start to be more comfortable in public and stuff. So just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to see, because I know that maybe you guys didn't want to have a mystery. Just want to cover the bases here. Never know. Is there any other standout moments at all in this movie you guys want to talk about? Nope. That sounds like crickets.
I have one.
All right.
Well, I have a question. Sorry. Do you have more questions?
No, go ask away.
I have a good one. Okay. Question.
Scott's answering first.
Huh?
Scott's answering first.
Okay. So if this movie had come out at in another time, like maybe 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because that wasn't that long ago, in the 90s, do you think it would be accepted the same way? And I'm asking that because, like, my experience watching it, like, in the movie theater at the end, like, when they revealed that Blue was the guy, like, the whole theater was, like, cheering, and they went crazy, and I don't know if you guys had that, but my theater was.
Yeah.
And everybody was freaking out, and everybody was happy, like, genuinely happy at the end, but then I'm like, I wonder if, I mean, we're in this time, there's a lot of teenagers in there, and it's different for them. Like, there was, like, gay teens in the movie theater with, like, their boyfriends on a date, which is great for them, but that doesn't happen to everybody. So, like, they're in a different time where that's all acceptable to some extent. So do you feel like if this would have come out before, it could have made an impact, or it could have just, like, been kind of shunned and, you know?
I totally think it would have been shunned. Like, just the way the dynamic of life is right now. Back then, I don't think it would have been accepted. Like that conversation that my mom and I had, she had told me that, you know, when I was 3, 4 years old, she said, I just told your father one day, I knew you were going to be gay. How you knew, or how I knew, I had no idea. But she said, I told him at that point, it terrified me because I knew what your life was going to be like, and I was scared for you. So growing up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, yeah, no, this movie would not have even been close to the acceptance I think it would be now. So this definitely is, I think, a mainstream kind of a movie that really will hold its head above anything else.
Yeah.
I could see that. I definitely could see it being different. I feel like if it was done 15 years ago in the 90s, I don't think it would have been this kind of theme and that kind of like romantic with comedy kind of approach. I probably think it would have been more of a serious take where you're kind of like learning about, oh, there's, you know, people that have different opinions or different things.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have had that. If it would have had the same, if you would have just pulled this movie and put it in the 90s, I don't think it would have had that same success. If you would have had it more of like a serious drama, I think you may have been getting recognized a little bit more for like it's doing something different. Oh, this is reflecting people that, you know, don't have a voice yet. So I think it would have got that kind of a praise if it was that approach. But as this kind of movie right now, I don't think it would have gotten that same love as it is getting now, because there would be people that want to see this movie, but I'm sure that back in the day, if you go try to see this movie, especially at a young age, not like an adult, but like in a young age, you probably might get questioned by people, parents, friends, and we'd be like, why do you want to see that movie?
Well, even look at it, Ellen DeGeneres, when she came out on her sitcom.
Yeah.
You know, she almost dive bombed her career by doing it, but for her, it was important.
Yeah.
And that was what, like late 90s, early 2000s. So that's not that long ago. So that's a huge stepping stone to be able to say this movie is getting rave reviews from not just critics, but, you know, audience goers.
It's, I don't know. I feel like it's, I don't know. It's kind of, I feel like, it's long overdue, and it could feel like it should have came out. Not should have came out, but people would have wanted this sooner. But I feel like what we're saying, it wouldn't have been possible. And even if it did come out sooner and it did get made, it would have probably just gone unnoticed, or it would have not had the same status.
I could see that, like, if it stayed in this genre, I could see it as a TV movie. I could see it as like one of those kind of other platforms. I don't know if it would be a theater release. I feel like it had to have that serious approach to kind of get attention from anyone.
Yeah.
Like how Milk and Brokeback Mountain had that. It was, those weren't movies you go in there thinking you're going to have a funny and, I don't even know, maybe relatable to some extent, but yeah, that's definitely one. That's a good question.
Like, did you guys ever watch Never Been Kissed, that movie?
No.
With Drew Barrymore?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of that. And it kind of had the same,
Totally.
like at the end where she's like, you never watched it?
No, I gotta write that down.
What it was like.
Right?
Yeah.
Because my mom took me to go watch that when it came out. I don't know why, but we went. And it had like the same kind of premise, like at the end, you know, the whole school's watching and she's waiting for the guy to come, and then you're like, is he gonna come or is he not? Is he gonna kiss her or not? And it kind of felt like that. And what was nice about that is I really like Never Been Kissed, so that's why what was nice about it was along the same lines, but it kind of was like, well, this is just, it kind of ended up just being like, we just replaced the main character with a gay character, but didn't make it overly, crazy, like, this is totally different. Like, they try to keep it like, this is a normal storyline that anybody could experience, and obviously mainstream, but it was nice to have that, where it's like, you could easily interchange characters, and it's not the end of the world, and you can include more people.
I find myself being like, well, obviously I'm not in high school anymore, but if I was in high school, I can see myself, talking to a girl and not knowing who this girl may be. If obviously we're in the same time period, I don't even think we had that. Do we have anything like that in our younger days?
I mean, yeah, we had email.
Okay, we had email. Just making sure.
MySpace,
yes.
AIM.
We had rocks.
We had pigeons. Carry letters for us. Carry messages.
No, but like, I feel like I can see myself emailing a girl that I did not know that went to my high school. I can see myself in that situation. It's still relatable. There was nothing here that I was like, oh, no, this is not for me. I'm going to walk out. I can't relate. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like it was a movie that had this different touch, but it was not therefore it's completely different in that sense, as you guys were saying. So,
well, I think that was like the main objective too, was to make this film like a coming out story as relatable as it could be to like as broad of an audience as it could be. Because normally, gay films in the past, they're like these heavy dramas, or they're like, or they have this kind of taboo kind of coating on them, or it's, very, like controversial, something like Brokeback Mountain, or, those kind of films. But like this one, they wanted it it's like anyone can, straight, gay, young, old, like anyone can relate, like, because, look, kind of the premise, like he's just like everyone else, other than just like you.
Yeah.
Except nobody knows my secret.
Victoria's Secret?
I mean, and it's true, because like gay people had to relate to straight movies, and they were fine. So it's like, if gay people could relate to aspects or like themes of straight movies, then
why can't a straight man relate to a gay man on film?
A character, because at the end of the day, it's just a character.
It's a character.
But I feel like the reason why you couldn't in the past was because, like we were saying, it's like they're all very specific and very dramatic gay stories that you could only relate if you're gay, and that's
Half the time you can't even relate to it, even if you are gay.
yeah, you can't. And that was the weird thing too. Was like, I was like, "Whoa, this is so crazy!" But it's like, there's a lot of gay movies out, and it's whatever, and they're good movies. But like, Call Me by Your Name, I didn't relate to it. I mean, I don't know, whatever, if they're gay, I don't know what they are. But anyways, they you can't relate to just every gay movie, and
That's
it's true.
true,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot out there, but you can't necessarily relate to it.
I had a friend that said he could totally relate to Brokeback Mountain. I'm like, what part? You like horses? I'm like, you like the mountains? What is there? I'm so confused.
Okay. All right. I do want to just briefly ask here. Favorite scene? It sounds like we covered it a little bit. Just to narrow it down, was those your favorite scenes you guys were mentioning with the mom, or do you guys have another favorite scene that you guys would say is favorite?
An obvious one. My favorite scene was when Blue revealed himself on the Ferris wheel, and I was like, "Yay!" Like, because I didn't think like they were gonna leave Simon just hanging on the Ferris wheel. Like, we knew Blue was gonna come.
Yeah.
We just wasn't sure who it was. But once it was the guy, and we were like, "Oh, it is you!" And then I got really, really excited. And then they kissed, and that was like, "Woo!" Which was, it was a very rated G kiss. Like, it wasn't like,
It was still longer than I expected, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a quick pack.
I was looking for some like Call Me by Your Name action,
Yeah.
and it was like you're kissing your I don't know, your mom or something. your abuelita.
Oh my gosh.
But that was my favorite scene.
Okay.
I'd say the one that was my favorite was the one with the dad when he comes home and the dad's all crying about it and what did I say? Did I say this right? Did I say this wrong? And the best part of the entire scene, he's like, "Oh yeah, well, now we can get on Grindr together." And he's like, "What? No,
Do you even know what Grindr is?
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, it's like Facebook for gay people, right?" No, Dad, that's totally not what that is.
That's hilarious. Ruben, did you have another favorite scene?
Yeah, I guess besides the mom one, I guess I kind of mentioned it. The coming out scene was a good one, and again, because I was expecting something a little bit more dramatic. I mean,
It was a little anticlimactic, right?
Yeah.
Which I did like
but
about
it
it,
was
though.
relatable.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because I wasn't expecting him to come out right then and there, and then when he did, I was like, "Oh, like it was kind of like he dropped the bomb," which is probably how his obviously like that's what his parents were feeling and what his sister was feeling.
And I feel like that's kind of how it goes.
But
like, you just kind of like spit it out.
just throw it out there.
You're
like
not gonna go and say, well, you can. I mean, but I can relate to that where you just kind of have to like just spit it out at one point, because that's the only way you're gonna do it unless it's kind of hard to overthink it. But I like that scene because the main part was when he told them like, "I'm still the same person." That really was like, I said the exact same thing to my parents. Like, that was my main concern. I'm like, I'm still the same person because, like you were saying, when you have the time to process everything, but then everybody else doesn't. And even me, when I was in high school and I had a gay friend that came out to me, even though I knew they were gay, it was just weird because when they came out, it did feel like a different person. And they did mention that a lot throughout the movie, like I don't remember exactly the scenes, but they did mention things like, "Who are you?" or "Who have I been raising this whole time?" or whatever. Yeah. They might have mentioned it when they had like the fake straight coming out scene, something like that, possibly. Mm-hmm. But they did say something along those lines. And I felt like that is very relatable in that fact where it's like, yeah, it does feel like when they tell you that, you're like, oh crap, like who has this person been this whole time? It's like you're the same person, you're just giving extra detail, but then to other people it kind of feels like you've been like an imposter this whole time. Like, who's my friend? Who's this guy that I've been talking to for this long? So I like that because even though it was short and anticlimactic, it just summed up a lot of stuff. And you're
really
like, wow.
tied it together.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah.
I think going along with that, the other favorite of mine was, I think it was clever of how he said, "Why is straight always the go-to?" Mm-hmm. And then it shows kind of the reverse flip of they're coming out as straight.
The friends.
I thought it made the movie more relatable across the board. I don't think it could have been relatable for everybody seeing the movie if that little twist of, here, let me show you what it's like.
Yeah.
I think it was just a clever way to just say, okay, we're going to give you 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Let me show you how it really goes. and then we're gonna get off of it. It was that fast, but it was so perfect.
It was. That's what, when I first saw the trailer, that was like my favorite thing from the trailer.
Yeah.
And I remember going like, I would say that all the time. I would always be like, it's like unfair. I used to say this, like, it's unfair that gay people have to have this whole coming out process because when you're born, you're just assumed straight for the most part. And then you have to like go against the grain and say, no, I'm not, you know, but like straight people don't have to have that process. They don't have to go to every family member and be like, I just want to let you know I'm straight, like, you know. So I thought that was it was very and her mom started crying.
So good.
It was like so perfect. I loved it.
And I did love that they used the 3 friends, so it made it, you know, even that more relatable. Okay, now let's make it, you know, on the opposite, but for you 3. Yeah, I thought that was great.
My favorite scene, aside from the ones you guys mentioned, just to be different, I really did like...
So is this really your favorite scene, or are you just trying to be different?
Well,
Whatever.
Know which one was the favorite scene, and you don't have to go into
I mean, no, in that...
Don't lie.
Right. Okay, I meant...
He's really racking his brain right now.
No, because I have it. I just... I mean, I had a lot of scenes that stood out to me. One of them, as I mentioned, because I did enjoy the character of his friend, was when they were after the Halloween party, and they were just in his room, and they were just talking. And it got a little serious of just like, you know, reflecting on their lives kind of thing. I really like that scene because I find myself wanting to have those kinds of talks when I was younger of just like, who knows what life is going to be kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a matter of like, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I felt like that part was very nice, touching. And I believed their friendship at that point. At that point, I can see their friendship going through a lot of different stuff. I didn't think that we're going to have that little fallout when he, you know, did what he did by lying to her, but I never felt like the relationship was going to be rocky.
Yeah.
From that point forward. It really solidified their friendship more so than the other 2 characters they was friends with. So that was my favorite character. Not my character. My favorite scene. My favorite character was Simon, but that's not the point. So with that being said, it's time for our real score. Sounds like we all have a score here. We're going to go with the guest first. Scott, what is your real score? Real means just, you know, regular score out of 5.
So what, yeah. I don't know how many.
I'd say I'd go 5, honestly.
Okay. All right. You want to explain? I mean, you don't have to. Just if you're content with that.
I'd say a lot for the overall reasons of it's relatable across the map. You know, there's always some kind of an inner turmoil or inner secret that people have in their lives, whether it's their sexuality or, you know, whatever it is, that I think everybody bottles up at some point, and this made it relatable to see it doesn't have to be the end of the world. You know, you can just be you, and everyone's just going to be okay.
Okay. All right. Donnie?
I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5. For the same reasons you said. It was very, very relatable to anyone, not just gay people. The only thing that's stopping me from giving it a perfect score is just I wish I would have had, like I said before, a little bit more realistic things added to the story, or a little bit more I guess struggle for the character to show a little more realistic side, or the darker side of coming out. How it's not. I mean, I know they were particularly telling Simon's story, and Simon had a great experience, so I'm trying to like keep that in mind. But
you wanted to see table flips and the whole 9 yards.
I mean, I didn't need to see all that, but it could have been a little something. The dad could have said a little something more, or like
you wanted Bill to be like, you know what, I don't like you,
or like maybe one more classmate tease him a little more.
Yeah, because it was the same bullies. There was no new different bullies.
So, but 4.5.
4.5. Okay, Ruben.
I give it. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
Just because of what I previously mentioned, it was, and what you guys mentioned, it was just relatable on all, and just the overall picture was. It was just a good movie, and I guess if I nitpick at it, I can definitely find stuff to say about it. I will say that, like if I were to nitpick, but I feel like the initial reaction and just the whole viewing of it, at the end of the movie, I felt satisfied, and it had enough of everything. Like there was mystery, the romance, the humor. Like I feel like it, you know, it kind of it fulfilled everything that you needed out of a movie, and it was good. And again, I felt satisfied. Like I came in for a coming of age, like teenager kind of high school movie, and I got what I came out, or I got what I went in expecting, and then just happened to be about a coming out story. So I liked it. It was very well done.
Okay. All right, my score. I don't know if this might be a shock. It's the first score ever
one.
I'm giving.
1 out of 5.
I want my money back. I want it. No, it's actually a 5.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Right, I know.
Wow.
And it's only because watching this movie, there was a lot of things I kind of was like, I wish I was in a similar position. It definitely just was, it had a love story. I wish I had that kind of love story in high school. I didn't have that kind of experience. It would be nice. It's one of those things where I'm watching this and I see that, yes, it's not a realistic portrayal. And in that reasons, it's not a perfect movie. But I accepted it for this like fantasy tale of like, let's just let it play out well. And I really liked it. And I honestly really liked Simon's character. I was like, I feel like I'm him in that sense of like, I want to just have, a small group of friends. I don't need to have, be the popular one. I just want, to have my family to just, love each other and not necessarily be like, why aren't you doing, you're getting A's, straight A's and stuff. It was just more of like, you do you, we'll have fun. We'll watch movies. I think I had like a few times where I saw movies in the house together as a family. Other than that, it was like all separate. Like my mom wouldn't watch movies that she had no care for. So it was like things that I wish I had experienced in that sense. And the thing is that's interesting is none of that about him coming out I can relate to. But I still find this movie as one that I always would be okay with seeing over and over.
Yeah.
Just because, he's a cool character. And one of my criteria always is, do I want to watch the movie beyond the plot? And in this case, I do. I do want to see what happens when he gets a job. What happens when him and Blue have their, struggles and stuff. Very fascinating and all that. It's one of those where I see it with its fantasy lens, and it's one that it allows me to escape from my world and just being able to tune into someone else's life and enjoy it. Because it's like, oh, that's nice. He had a nice life. Do I believe it's real? Can I believe that, every single person that, has a similar story to tell will happen that have experience? No. So I don't give it a perfect score because it's a perfect movie and it's told it perfectly. I just give it because I feel like it was a very well written character that you can't help but like.
Yeah.
So my score it's a 5, but it's not a 5 for the plot. And, there was a lot of things that, there was, I can say as what Ruben said, you can nitpick and really like was, like him and his, I felt like him.
Okay, don't nitpick if you just said you're not going to nitpick.
Well, I mean, I can.
Not
But
really a 5.
Okay, so he really isn't giving it a 5.
it is
What's the...
it is a 5. It is a 5. I'm just saying,
Is it a Roman numeral
do
5,
that.
or is it a normal 5? What kind of 5 are you giving it?
It's a 5 out of 1,000 score. Wow. It's still a 1, guys. But no, okay, it's fine. I won't nitpick in that sense. I'm just saying.
But you do have stuff to nitpick.
I do, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
God, shut me down, people.
Okay.
All right.
Let's keep going.
Well, that was our episode of Love, Simon.
Everyone, go ahead and hashtag let Oscar speak. Wow. It's going to be the trend.
You've been speaking this whole time. Shut up.
You'll be like...
some nerve. Let Oscar speak.
You know what, guys? I'm going to have a blog about this.
You have one viewer, yourself.
Right.
But oops, I refreshed. That's 2.
I thought you were so good.
Thanks, Oscar. You're welcome, Oscar.
I agree with everything you said, Oscar.
But yes, that is our topic. That was our coverage of the movie. We hope everyone enjoyed it. Let us know what you guys think always. We always want to hear you guys' feedback. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Team Reel-ists, Team R. No, see, I always say that. Team REELISTS, no dash. And you can find us wherever podcasts are available. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Spread the word.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott,
Sure.
for being on this episode.
Are you
No
just taking
problem.
over now?
Oh, go ahead.
God, jeez. He still wants to talk.
God, I still want to
You
talk.
said shut you down, so I was just
No, you said
following
shut me
your
down.
order. I didn't say that.
Anyway,
You said that.
Oh my god.
Is this like every day?
Yeah, that's
it's about, yeah.
normal.
Sorry I had to go through that. But thank you, everyone.